Well, good morning. It's Wayne Berry here, and joining me at another location, a secret location in Melbourne, is Mr. Harry McIntosh. Good morning, Harry. How are you?
Good morning, Wayne. I'm well. How are you, sir?
Good. Now, for some reason, we've lost your video feed, but that should come back. I'm seeing a picture of you. I'm not sure what our viewers are seeing, but we'll see how we go there. I'm not sure. Anyway, look, welcome to everyone who's joining us this morning. We have people joining us from different parts of the world right now, where it is just after 8 a.m. Australian Daylight Saving Time on most of the east coast of Australia. In Queensland, it is 7 a.m. Oops, I've got the other screen making a noise here in the background. Let's fix that. In Singapore, it's 5 a.m. and that includes Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, and China. In London, I think we have some people on the line this morning from London in the United Kingdom. It is still Sunday, and it's just after 10 p.m. there. Los Angeles, USA, it's also Sunday, and it is right about 2 p.m. after 2 p.m. in the afternoon there. Chicago, 4 p.m., just after 4 p.m. New York, Eastern time there in the USA, it's just after 5 p.m. So welcome to everyone who is joining us this morning. Harry, we've got a number of questions, and I should just mention straight up front here, this is the last in the series of Q&As that we'll be doing for a little while, and so we will be coming back with these, but this is the last one in this particular series. Harry, we've got a few questions here this morning that I'd like to tackle right away since these are the last of the series. One of them I know has been hanging over from some previous times. And let's tackle the one from Corey Peterson. Corey is on the Top Gun Sales Coaching Program now and has been for a little while. He's asked the question there, when a customer asks me to send an introductory email instead of just coming to see them, what should I do? Have you got a layout, etc., that works? Harry, I'm just going to come back to your camera and see what we're seeing there. I think no, Harry, we're still at your static image there. You might just turn your camera on and off again, and let's just see if we can get you.
Can you hear me?
Coming up again. I can hear you okay, but we've got a static image there. I'm not quite sure why, whether it's a bandwidth situation or something like that. Perhaps that might be what it is. Corey, look, this is I beg your pardon, Travis. Corey, we'll come back to you in just a moment. I'm noticing it's actually Travis's question, Travis Clayton in New South Wales, asking that question about an introductory email. Look, sometimes if somebody says, send me an email, it means that we perhaps have not been effective in the way that we're doing our telephone approach. So we're not getting the appointment and we're being fobbed off with an email. Look, if we have to send an email, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions here. It should follow the same format as the Top Gun prospecting script, which we know works extremely well. So essentially, if you're using the Top Gun script well, you should be getting the appointment. You should not be getting this fob off. But if you have to send an email, a couple of thoughts there. Number one, yeah, send the email, but use a similar sort of format to what you would be familiar with, Travis, from the Top Gun telephone prospecting script. So essentially what you would say is, the reason I telephoned you today, Mr. Jones, is because, as you may be aware, XYZ company has recently developed a system designed to, and give those 3 hot buttons that you'd be familiar with from the script there, and it might be something like save your time, save your money, make your job easier. So that you work on those 3 hot buttons that really grab attention. You might remember that hot buttons are all about grabbing people's attention. Designed to save your time, save your money, make your job easier. It's for, and name the type of person that you're speaking to, or that you're trying to get to see, or that you're emailing to. So it could be general managers like you, project directors like you. And I was telephoning today to say that we're going to be in your area this Thursday afternoon at around about 4 p.m. and wondered whether you'd be in for 17 minutes if I was to drop by. So if you have done the Top Gun program, you'd be familiar with it. That's pretty much the words in the script. So you're using proven strategy, proven words in the script to make that email come alive a little bit more. Don't go into too much detail. Bearing in mind that if we put too much in an email, they don't actually need to see us face to face. Same thing when you're making a telephone prospecting call. If you put too much, if you say too much during the call, they don't actually need to see you. Now here's another twist and another idea. And then I'll come across to you, Harry, and see whether you've got some ideas. So I'm just going to flip over there now. We do have you live. We can see you now. That's good. Good morning to you. Finally, see you there.
Thank you.
Harry and I use a great little system called iJot. iJot is a video email. So instead of sending the conventional kind of written email, I suggest use an iJot email to say exactly what I said there. So this is available from iJot, EYEJOT.com. It is a free download. I think you pay maybe $20 a year if you want to be able to personalize it, put your logo on it and those sorts of things. But it works really good because it means that you can sit in front of a camera like I am right now, look straight into the camera and deliver your message. It's much more engaging because people can see you. It stands out from the conventional kind of email, which frankly people don't necessarily want to read. So it comes up on the screen, your image, they press play, or I think it actually starts it automatically, and away you go. And it's only a 2 or 3 minute video email, but that will grab much more attention than actually sending the normal one as text. We know that the engagement factor is anywhere between 87% and 400% greater when you use videos. In fact, we have a web TV program coming up very soon where we'll be talking with some experts from the United States and right here in Australia about using video on your website and using video emails and just using video, because the engagement factor is much higher and the response that people have is much higher. So Harry, I've been blabbing on there in order to give you a little bit of time to get your camera going, and you have now, so we've come over to you. You're on the screen. Anything else to add? I've covered it pretty thoroughly. Anything else to add about that from what I've said?
Wayne, what you've touched on is so true. So sometimes it really is the quality of the message that you start with. We use the 4-second type rule. You've got about 4 seconds to grab somebody, and it's very complex when you're trying to get through to someone if you're breaking into their day without it. So it's absolutely critical. I was advised by a very wise C-level executive in a very major insurance company, have something important to tell me that's going to change my day. And you can get that through if you've actually thought about it and thought about their business. Now, the other thing that I find is terrific is doing a little bit of research on LinkedIn. Find out who they're connected with. If the people are on LinkedIn, research who they know. It is so much easier to get onto somebody if you've been referred by somebody. If I was trying to call somebody, I would do my research, do my homework, and find out, is there somebody in my network on LinkedIn that knows me, that also knows them, that I can find out and have a chat with them. It's much easier when I call to have an icebreaker, which is a referral, and we do cover that in the training as well, because we can say, Wayne, thanks for taking the call. Has anybody mentioned my name to you over the last couple of days? I was referred to you by Wayne Berry. You know Wayne. And then that comes up. It starts a process happening. And if you do that, you can say, look, I was having a chat with Wayne, and Wayne mentioned that what we were just discussing would probably be very relevant to you and your organization for a bunch of reasons. What I was hoping is that I could swing by your office or drop by on Thursday, and I'm going to be in the area, and have a quick 17 to 23 minute meeting just to see if this makes sense for you as well, from what Wayne told me. That type of an approach often gets the interest. Oh, what did Wayne say? Then you can move it into asking about, look, I'm going to be out there. It's going to be easier if I catch up with you just for a few minutes. As I've mentioned, it'll be no more than 17 to 23 minutes, and I can cover it with you. That gets them going.
Yeah, absolutely, Harry. And I'll just mention for those folks joining us this morning who haven't done the Top Gun Sales Coaching program at this stage, using those odd times like 17 minutes, 23 minutes, as opposed to it's only going to take 10 minutes or it's only going to take 30 minutes, those cliche times tend to be unbelievable with people. When you're specific with your number of minutes, people say, how much did you say? 17 minutes? You say, yeah, absolutely, 17 minutes. That's what I found it takes, unless, of course, you have questions. Because when somebody says 10 minutes, what's your experience of that? They're going to be like 30 minutes. If somebody says, I'm only going to spend 30 minutes with you, what are they going to spend with you? At least an hour. So avoid those cliche times. The other thought there is that if you say we're going to be in your area on Thursday afternoon at around 4 p.m., it gives you a little bit of flexibility, but it also lowers the threshold of obligation. That is, if you say you're going to be in the area anyway, people are much more likely to see you, our research has shown, than if, in fact, you say you're coming especially to see them. I think I relate in the training program about an experience of a young man who called me quite a number of years ago now wanting to see me. In Melbourne, he's in Lancefield, and that was in those days at least one and a quarter, 1 hour and 20 minutes drive. And I'm thinking to myself, he's going to drive all the way from Lancefield. I'm going to have to spend time with him. It's not going to be 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I'm going to have to spend at least half an hour with the guy because he's come all this way to see me. Look, but just send me some information by email, would you? And I fobbed him off, and he accepted it. Hadn't yet done our program, of course. But the fact is that if he had said to me, look, mate, I'm going to be down in Brighton this Thursday afternoon around about 4 p.m. When will you be there if I would drop by? I would have said, well, yeah, why not? If you're going to be in the area, just pop in for 10 minutes and we'll go over it. That's good. So we know that absolutely works, lowers the threshold of obligation. So, Harry, unless you've got any other thoughts, I'll just move to the next question.
I've got one last point on that one, mate. Sorry for that. I know we've pressed a bit. The email, if you are in a situation where you do have to send an email of introduction, that is your icebreaker for the next call. And so by keeping it light, keeping it very brief, but say something that's important to them that gets their interest really briefly in a very short email, and then when you call back to make the appointment, if you get to the receptionist or you get to the PA, you're just following up with Wayne on a call we had the other day and some information I sent him. Can you book me in his diary for a very brief meeting? I'll be out your way on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. You know, pick the time and date and just be specific. So that helps you get past it if you are put in that position of having to do it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. An interesting one that you and I had a few months ago now was where a managing director of a company was saying to his salespeople, just use, is it Outlook? And just send people an invitation by Outlook to gain appointments. Now, I hadn't really followed through as to whether that worked too well, but I'm not, I don't know. Have you had any thoughts on that or any feedback from clients about sending an Outlook invitation and expecting the person would just see you?
I have done that, and I have also had that done to me. Now, if they are across their diary, it can work, but the thing that can happen, and the percentage incidence of it occurring on the day is higher, when people log on to their day to look at their calendar, they see, oh, I've got an appointment with Harry McIntosh. Who's Harry? I don't know Harry. I don't remember getting that invite. I'm going to send a decline to that one. And so you can get a decline message sent. In some cases where people have not accepted a message, it's just been left, where I have sent them a email invitation, which has gone into their calendar. I have arrived on the day, and if they do feel obliged to seeing me because it's in their diary. They won't know about it and they'll be a little frustrated, but you've got the access, and it's up to you then to have the right message to say so that you build the trust and rapport straight away.
Yeah, look, I guess so. To my mind, it's just a little bit cheeky, and you know, I use a Mac, and when those things come through, they don't necessarily lodge in my iCal on my Mac. So people should be aware of that. Outlook isn't necessarily all that compatible with Mac at times. You have to actually deliberately put it in your diary, I found. Anyway, I've already announced the next question, and this is from Corey Peterson, Altec Global. Corey's got an interesting question about making presentations. He says, what do you believe is the best way to conduct a presentation when it's to a group of construction project managers? Corey sells to project managers, the product has become almost a commodity, and it's the same quality as the opposition, and they're very price-driven in the market. Should you go for a general Q&A with them, or some sort of PowerPoint type scenario, which personally I find boring and dictates the direction of the meeting too much? What are your thoughts on that, Harry?
Yeah, Wayne, thank you for that one. This is a challenge, but really at any stage that you're giving a presentation, it's absolutely essential to make sure you've done your homework and you know what the needs are and what the really important criteria are that this group of people are going to be looking at. Now, my son happens to work in this type of an industry, and he gets these questions all the time as well. And we've chatted a few times about his knowledge and his understanding of their industry gives him a basis of being able to lead them, which helps them build trust and rapport with him. If he explains, here's where I see you're at today, based on the needs when I was out at your site or when I've been working with you in previous engagements, this has been the go. My gut feeling is this is going to add some value to you based on the feedback we had last time. But it's really important that if you are in a situation of being put up in front of a group of people that you haven't had a chance to, if you are being forced into giving a PowerPoint presentation, if it's a mandate that you're up at a trade show or something like that, giving a presentation to a group of production managers, ensure that every fact you put up on a slide, you explain with a because and what this means to you. If you simply read the slides, absolutely right, it is unbelievably boring and you will drive people away because 9 out of 10 people will present the company overview or the product description, and that's all they do. If you change it and you make it applicable and apply the facts around the statement you're making, and then you apply the what this means to you is, you will have this, it will do this, it will drive your business this way, and the real benefit to you is going to be your ability to move on to the next phase. That is taking it into the form of what we call a power selling statement. And the unique difference that you will have is that you're making it specific to people. Look people in the eye as you're doing the presentation, nod to them, smile at them. Ask for feedback from people during the presentation so that you engage them. If you simply are going to read off some slides or state some facts, it's not going to show you in a very good light, because the biggest difference that you've got in any situation where you're in front of people is the uniqueness that you bring to them, the value that you as an individual have, and how you share that with them and make people trust you and like you. Does that make sense, Wayne?
Yeah, look, it does, Harry. A couple of extra observations there. Yeah, death by PowerPoint, I think, is something to be avoided as much as possible. Really, it's not engaging at all. And again, we cover it in detail, how to make a powerful presentation in Module 6 of the Top Gun Sales Coaching Program. And it starts with, number one, being consultative in your approach, asking questions, being sure that you clearly understand their needs before you're making a presentation. Now, you may only have the opportunity to speak to one person, and then you're presenting to a group of project managers in this case. I think it's important that you define the needs with the person that you've been able to meet with, and then the very first thing that you do in that number of steps that we have in making a powerful presentation from Mod 6 is that you present the needs or objectives straight up front. So thank you very much to the group. Just wanted to thank Mr. Fred Smith for his time in briefing me very thoroughly on this. And if I may just confirm with the group what Fred and I discussed, Fred, these were the objectives and your needs as you detailed them to me. And if it's at all possible, don't use PowerPoint to do that. Have a handout. And have your handout not the entire recommendation, but literally 1 or 2 pages at a time, so you can control and people aren't flipping forward. So you hand out the first handout which says objectives, and then you run through them. You maintain eye contact, as Harry said there before, as much as possible, rather than, it's a terrible mistake to be using PowerPoint and looking at the screen. We see people doing it all of the time. You are making a presentation, you need to have eye contact. If you have to use PowerPoint, then by all means have it behind you, have your screen in front of you, but be looking at the audience. Run through the objectives, get agreement that if in fact we can meet those objectives, is there any reason that we can't go ahead here today? And this is where you're likely to get objections out in advance, and the best time to handle objections is in advance of your presentation, if it's at all possible. Then make your presentation, keep it concise, ask for a commitment at the end, handle any objections that may come up, and just follow essentially the steps that we outline in the method of making a powerful presentation. But avoid PowerPoint as much as you possibly can. The other reason I say avoid PowerPoint is that if your competitors are in fact using PowerPoint, then again you'll stand out as being someone different. It won't appear to be a standard presentation, particularly if you've got handouts which are specifically for them, have their company's logo on it, so you've really personalised the presentation. It's not like you haven't given them the time to come up with a PowerPoint presentation. You've gone one step further and you've made something very personal for them. So I think that works somewhat better than a PowerPoint presentation. But if you are there face-to-face, this is where you can set yourself apart from any opposition companies, because you're engaging with them much, much more, and it's not a standard presentation. Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question.
One other point, just on that one as well, that you triggered for me. Corey asked about the products become a commodity, the same quality as the opposition, and they are very price-driven in the marketplace, which is probably getting down to the pithy part, where it becomes complex to make your product look different. The most important thing to do then is to look at the differences between the suppliers. Look at the service levels, explain the quality, do the disturbing concept that what would happen if this was not delivered on site on time, or if there was not the stock levels that were required. Show that you understand the application and the implications of what this is, and demonstrate the value above and beyond what it is that the standard supplier who'll send out a quote or do a standard presentation is going to do. Let the person know that you're there to back them up, that you understand the relevance to their business of the supply of the goods and materials and the criticality of what it is you are delivering and the impact on the business if that's not there. So it just means that the price level side of it becomes less of an issue. You can also be a smidge higher than the others because of the value and the other risk versus return things. If you're removing the risk out of the scenario for them, and you've got a sensational relationship with the organisation, and you've got a broader range of commodities or tools or services or products that you have to offer them, that is where you will get your value back. So think about what it is different that your company offers and what you offer, which is going to make the difference back to this organisation. I hope that little bit helps as well.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right, Harry. Being engaging with your questions at the beginning of your presentation, asking what we call disturbing questions, which we cover in the Consultative Selling Module, Module 3 from the Online Top Gun Sales Coaching Program. I've done that myself, you know, even just beginning with the group. So what's the major challenge that you face with respect to whatever it is? That way you get the interactivity happening, and it's not just a one-way presentation. And by the way, if you don't get much reaction to that, you can say, of course, Mr. Fred Smith told me that your major challenge is, and then you simply confirm the answer that Mr. Smith gave. Is that correct, Mr. Smith? That's what you said to me? And you can draw the audience out and get some participation happening. Again, that sets you apart from somebody else who would just walk in and make a standard sales presentation from PowerPoint. Harry, we're just going to go to the very first question that we have on the top of the list that I emailed you this morning. I've been listening to your audio programs. This one comes from Jordan Pearson of Auckland, New Zealand. Yeah, I've been listening to your audio program, How to Lead and Motivate Top Gun Sales Team. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Jordan. But I have a question for you. You talk about leading from the front and how important it is for me to be a coach to my salespeople. I think I understand what a football coach does, but could you please give me some specifics about what I should do as a sales manager coach? How would I go about coaching my salespeople? Specifics, please, Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. I'll tune in to watch with some of our other sales managers. Well, thank you very much for doing that, Jordan. Hopefully you're on the line now this morning with your other sales managers. Harry, this is something that comes up frequently when we are training sales managers who, in many cases, have been successful salespeople, moved into a sales management role, and have really had no specific sales management training. And we talk about, and we do in the 12-month sales manager mentoring program, we cover the six, what I call the 6 major keys to sales management, and leadership is certainly one of those major keys. So, Harry, I know you've got a lot to do with football. You've got kids, sons and so forth involved in football, and you have in fact been a sports coach yourself in various parts of your life. How would you, what advice would you give about a sales manager as a coach, perhaps linking it to the sports analogy as well?
Yeah, sure, Wayne. It's a really interesting approach, and it is one of the biggest challenges. Just to put it in perspective, if you take someone who is a great salesperson and you give them the responsibility for being a sales manager or being responsible for a team of salespeople, you have to take that with a lot of care and a specific amount of vision and watching yourself, because somebody has to be able to relate what it is they've done in the past that's made them successful to others in a way that can be really seen and adapted. Now, what I've found is that the most successful approach for sales managers to actually lead and coach and to mentor is to first of all have the credibility behind them, so that people know that they've walked the walk in the past. And so when they talk about aspects of what it is they're doing, they can relate back to examples which are relevant to the environment. It's also really useful to be able to run through and review a sales process with a salesperson and ask them the questions, demonstrate the process by asking them the questions and uncovering their needs and their challenges and how they would go for, and then you offer them a option or a solution. So you demonstrate the process yourself. Being available to be on site with the salesperson themselves if they need that. Some salespeople don't like being watched in nth degrees of detail. You know, they feel threatened by it. And so you've got to have faith in your people if you get the feeling that they are doing the job right. When I was running some substantial teams across Australia and New Zealand and Southeast Asia, I would ask for 2 times in a sales process to have access to their customer at the most senior level. One, when a prospect hit the forecast, that first month it came on, I would contact them, I would thank them for their interest, and I would do the qualification at an executive level, because I needed to know what the sales rep was doing was something that I needed to put on my forecast up to the higher levels indeed. And so I would position that at the start. I would work with the sales rep to absolutely ensure, but the sales rep had to have faith in me. And so in terms of being a coach, they've got to know that you back them, you push them forward all the time, and that is the right approach to it. Now, having the education process for the sales team is critical. Ensuring that they're skilled up, which means you've got to know where it is that they will need the support, where they will need the assistance, and you've got to help them get there. Now, there are 7 different types of salespeople, and we cover that in the Sales Manager Mentoring Program. And knowing how each of those 7 different types of salespeople work is critical for how you set up and manage and structure your approach to managing and dealing with them. Now, in terms of that, it's also about the different personality types they have. It's not just their style of selling or where they see themselves as a sales rep. How you deal with them is going to be very important, whether they're a director type, whether they're a thinker type, whether they're a socializer or a relator. And that comes with how we also deal with our customers. It's really important to recognize your sales team are your customers. And it's important to get them motivated and driven down a line that's helping you achieve your goals. So in some cases, you've got to share your goals with your sales reps so they understand how they're impacting the success of your business. They need to be your friend in the business as well. So coaching and mentoring is ensuring that they have the skills to enable them to deliver the results. The results that you want will be the results that you shared with them that are important to their success and your success going forward in the business. It's a really important part of the process, and you don't have to go out and do their job for them. That's probably not a good thing to do, is to try and bail them out if they get in a hole. Educate them so that they know what's happening themselves. involve people like Wayne and myself to help if there is a little bit of a blockage. That's the type of thing that we do. I get calls and Wayne gets calls every day from sales reps that are having a problem in the sales process. We have a chat with them for a couple of minutes. We bounce around ideas on the strategy, and then they feel they've got something that's going to work for them, and off they go. They need to see you as the person they can go to for advice and help. So by them knowing that you've got a background that's going to be suitable, that's going to be the platform that you use to help lift their skills. Does that sort of make sense?
Look, absolutely, Harry. You've covered a lot of things there. I think one of the things that really hits home to me is that our salespeople are our customers. I always teach that salespeople don't work for a sales manager. We, in fact, work for the salespeople as much as they work for us. So, number one, we need to lead from the front. In other words, that I'm still amazed that some sales managers seem to abdicate their responsibility as sales managers as soon as we start to do sales training with their team. In other words, they think we're supposed to provide the training, we're supposed to provide the coaching, they abdicate the responsibility. A sales manager needs to lead from the front. Number one, they need to do the sales training at the same time as their salespeople. So they're moving through the sales training, be it Top Gun sales coaching or any other training, they need to be doing the training along with their salespeople. They then need to make the sales meetings, and by the way, we recommend that sales meetings should be on at least a weekly basis, and they need be no longer than around about 30 to 40 minutes, and they need to be valuable experience for the salespeople. In other words, many salespeople don't like going to sales meetings because they're boring, they're negative, and what I suggest is that we have at least a 30 to 40 minute training and coaching session at every sales meeting. So for sales managers whose teams are on the Top Gun Sales Coaching Program, the sales manager is doing the same online module as the salespeople, and then at the weekly meeting they have a training session where they talk about what everyone's been learning during this last 7 days on the training program. They do role plays, and again, they should be able to lead from the front by being able to do role plays themselves, use the techniques they've been learning, and critiquing other people who are doing the role plays. In other words, they need to know the techniques and the strategies as well as, if not better than, the salespeople, because they need to lead from the front by showing in very positive ways that they understand these techniques and strategies, they know that they work, and then of course at the end of the session challenge the people to go out and put the ideas into action and actually go around the table of salespeople, or very often these days, of course, we're teaching sales managers how to do these sales meetings online using video conferencing. If you'd like information on that, just drop us an email. I've got a handout, a checklist I'd be happy to send you on how to run video conference sales meetings, and they're rather unique. You've got to do them in a very, very special way, but it is a way of bringing your entire national sales team together, regardless of where they are, or even if it's not a national sales team, you have people out and about in the field, they can come online and have the video conference, join the video conference meeting. But you at the end of the meeting, you get people to, every individual, to commit to exactly what they're going to do within the next 7 days with the ideas that they've covered this morning, plus other things that they've agreed to do. And then the very first part of the next sales meeting is where they check in with what I call check in with the week that was. Who said they were going to do what? What exactly did you do? Congratulations to the people who did what they said they're going to do. Sharing of success stories, and again, I'm happy to provide the checklist on the things that should be done in a sales meeting and the order that they should be done in. So leading from the front, doing the training, and also the accountability. As Harry and I speak about so frequently, inspect what you expect, or you will lose respect. And again, that's a part of leadership. If you get a commitment from an individual that they're going to do something, you need to follow through and make sure they've done it. That again is leadership in action. And that training role and coaching is just so important. There's so many other factors in that coaching. Harry, you touched on the fact that there are 7 different types of salespeople. We cover this in the mentoring program. And absolutely, they're different personalities. They have different needs. They're at different points in their career. And if you don't understand that each of your salespeople are individuals and each of them need to be treated in a different way, you're missing out. You cannot treat all your sales team the same. One of the key elements of sales management, of course, is motivation. And when I run live sessions, I often say, so what motivates salespeople? And the truth is, different things motivate different people. And this is where, if you don't sit down with each member of your team, find out what's important to them, what's got them going, what motivates them, and then use that as the motivator week after week after week, and remind them of the goals that they've set and the reason that they're developing the skills and the reason they're striving to be better. You use that as their hot button motivator and keep coming back to it. And the reason I say it's different for different people is that, people at different points in their life, different stages of their career. For example, the overseas holiday could motivate the younger people on your team, but be a real deterrent or not so much interest to somebody who's older, married, settled with children, and that overseas trip is an interruption. In fact, it's a little bit negative at home about the fact that you go away on this overseas convention each year. I had a sales manager who put up a prize a few years ago, put up a Vespa, I think it was, a little motorcycle. He bought it and he put it in the meeting room, and it was there every single week. And of course, it motivated about 3 of the 12 salespeople, and these were the young kids who could see themselves riding around on this motorbike. All of the older people, 40s, 50s, they had absolutely no interest in the motorbike, and he couldn't understand why that particular prize didn't motivate his entire sales team. Different things motivate different people. So yeah, leading from the front, leadership in action, and the fact is, look, sales management doesn't come naturally. If you've been brilliant in sales and you got moved into sales management, you're not suddenly going to understand about how to get the best performance out of your salespeople. Sales management strategies are entirely different to sales strategies. I also know some sales managers, and I'm sure you do, Harry, as well, who have been okay at selling. They've been pretty good salespeople, but they haven't been outstanding salespeople. And I think that's true of sporting coaches. You don't necessarily have to have been an outstanding athlete to become a brilliant sports coach, but you do need to know what the top guns do. You need to know the strategies, the techniques, the things that make high performers, and be able to train and coach your people in all of those attributes. We've, of course, identified 10 key attributes of all high-performing salespeople. Again, it's available as a checklist if you'd like us to send that to you. And working against that template, to develop those 10 key characteristics in every member of your sales team, again, is leadership. It's delivering value. Training is of value to people if they see the relevance in their career. And again, it is such an important part of the leadership role. Any other further thoughts there, Harry? We may just have time for one final question, since it is the end of the series.
One last point on that one, mate, sorry. Please. But the probably the most important thing that a coach does, whether it's a sports coach or whether it is a sales coach, is that they set the rules that have to be followed, and they work with the participants, whether it's in the team of players or whether it's in the sales team, to actually measure how they're going against those. The coach or the sales manager is responsible for seeing the people achieve it. Now, if the people are slipping or not achieving it, it's how do you then lift them up? How do you raise the bar? How do you talk to them if they're not getting the performance level? And there are so many things that need to be done. The sales manager needs to become the unreasonable friend who sets the expectation at the start, and then measures, lifts, and as you said, Wayne, inspects what you expect against it on the way through. But it's absolutely critical to have the ground rules established, let everybody know, get their sign-off and their acceptance of it, and then work towards achieving them. Set the measurements that they must achieve. We face this day in and day out with so many of the people that we train. But even when the sales managers in their own organisations or the executives in their own organisations aren't as close to it as what we are, they come back to us and they rely on us to actually be their sales manager. They ask us to push them and drive them, and we do, because that's part of our requirement. That we insist people achieve the statistics that they've set themselves for the week. We insist that they know what it is, if they miss something, why it was missed, or what is their strategy for getting to it next week. We are not totally unreasonable. Things change and there are scenarios that come up. But it's absolutely essential that the sales manager in the coaching and in the mentoring facility is onto the statistics, doesn't let them slip, doesn't forget about them for a week or two, and then come back and hit everybody. You must have a process that makes sense, that's ongoing, and that leads the person to their success. And you need to be working with each of them, in some cases individually, so that they know where they're going, depending on how their performance is happening, and also depending on their style of rep they are, or their style of personality type. I hope that
Yeah,
helped.
Harry, yeah, absolutely. And of course, assessment up front before starting any training program, or even just starting a particular period of time. And of course, we do this. We have an online selling skills assessment, which, by the way, those viewing the program here are welcome to contact us and speak with us about that. But always, before we start off a training program, we assess where each individual is up. We do this in an online assessment plus an interview. And that way, and I'm saying this from the sales manager's point of view, you need to clearly understand where your people are at before they begin the journey of self-development and improvement. You need to know what their current level of skills are in the range of skill areas that I spoke about there before. And again, we have this as an online selling skills assessment. We also have one for sales managers, which is rather good as well, to allow a sales manager to understand what the strengths and areas for improvement are in their own career, what skills they have fully developed, what skills and strategies that they possibly need a little bit of help in, and those are available online. Harry, because this is the last in the series, we do have one final question here that I would like to tackle if we can. We're running a little bit over time. In fact, I have another video conference coming up in 10 minutes, so we do need to keep it tight. This one comes from Ross Johnson from Hong Kong. And Ross is a friend of mine who's done the Top Gun Sales Coaching Program, has got excellent results, by the way, thank you very much. It says that you teach something about behavioural styles, and Harry, you touched on it before. Why is it important to learn about this model of behaviour? I think that's what he's saying. Is it also valid across all nationalities, as I live and work in Hong Kong and do business with people in mainland China as well? Ross Johnson from Hong Kong. Harry, this is something we talk about all the time, isn't it? About behavioural styles, different buyer personality types, and how to do business with people. And I think one of the key things about understanding people's behaviour is that we call it the platinum rule of selling and the platinum rule of communication. The golden rule of selling and golden rule of communication, of course, says sell unto others as they would have you, as you would have them sell unto you. Sell unto others as you would have them sell unto you. It's a variation of the old rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The platinum rule says sell unto others as they would have you sell unto them. In other words, people are different, and just because we like to buy in a particular way or communicate in a particular way doesn't mean that everyone that we communicate with likes the same manner of communication. Would you just like to quickly outline the 4 different behavioural styles? And
absolutely.
We get about 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Look, what we find is with the majority of calls that I've been on and the majority of calls I get from people, is that they're concerned that their first few minutes in the call, they can physically or emotionally see the shutters coming down. And when we stop and we go back and we talk to them, what sort of personality type was the person? How did you approach them? They go, I didn't even think about that. Now, we teach that there are 4 different basic types of buyer styles or buyer personalities, and they are from the director, who is a very fast-paced, detail-oriented decision person who likes to be in control of the process. You've got a socializer, who is also very fast-acting, fast-thinking. They are probably a little freer in their style in terms of let's have a chat over a coffee. Let's keep it free out of the office, where the director would prefer to be in their office. We have a third style, which is called a relator. They are slower thinking people. They are more impact related about what's the effect on my people, what's the effect on the team around, how is this going to make people feel, and so they feel a lot more about it. And then you've got a thinker, who needs, they're quite slow in their processing and how they act, and they also need a lot of detail. They need to be able to piece the puzzle together themselves to come to the outcome, and they are really, really important. We try very hard to then bring that back to ourselves as the salesperson, so that we know what style that we typically are, because people in the standard way of doing things tend to operate in their own style, expecting everybody else to understand that style. We hope to train people to become a chameleon almost, that they can adapt to the style of the person they're with. If you think the other person will adapt to you, that's never going to work because you're the person with the skills and the training. So we suggest there are really only a couple of things to look for. And we covered this in a great deal of detail about the triggers and the things to see. But very quickly, if you try to assess the pace at how they go, and are they very task-oriented, or are they more a slower reacting, slower talking, slower thinking person, and are they more of a relationship or a detail level about every step of the way? That gives you the clues for how you need to function with them. There is no one particular personality style, as Ross mentioned, that is better than the others. The personality style that works the best is the one who can adapt to suit the person they're talking to. And so by understanding and knowing what the process is that the other person is going through, by taking away the differences between your style and their style, maximizing the similarities, so try to mimic what they do without going over the top, which then becomes offensive, but just mirror a little bit of their personality, their style. Ask them the questions that are relevant to what you think their personality style is. Let them know you're there to suit their needs and their style, and you will really find that it works. My take, and I've done business in New Zealand, Southeast Asia, I've done business in the UK, I've worked in the with teams in the USA as well as all over Australia. This works every time. Knowing the style of person they are, and if you show the courtesy to mirror the person that you're dealing with, particularly in the Asian cultures, that is very positive, very, very positive. That is a very high level of respect. So that, to me, I have found works wonderfully in all cases. Wayne, does that sort of...
Yeah, absolutely, Harry. I do a lot of work in Southeast Asia and China, as you know, and have done for about the last 14 years now. And yeah, it is cross-cultural, works in every part of the world. So just to summarize what Harry said there, flexibility is the key. Understanding how to identify a person's behavior through the cues and clues that are there, visual, auditory, when you're with someone, and know their style, and then deliver your communication to them in a style that is congruent and comfortable with the way they like to communicate. So the rapport level will be higher, the trust level will be higher, and the communication process much, much more effectively. It's well worth learning about these behavioral styles. Some people will say to me, I've heard about this DISC system, and I've done DISC training, but it was so complicated. This is based on DISC, absolutely, but we have changed it and made it very, very much more practical, much easier to understand. And again, it's something that we cover in the online 12-month sales coaching program. And it delivers a degree of sophistication to your communication and selling that is understood by very, very few salespeople. It is the reason why some salespeople are in fact top guns, because they're so flexible, they're so able to get on the same wavelength as their prospects, they achieve an extraordinary result. As I say, a degree of sophistication understood by very few salespeople, but it's something that it can be learned by you, and it does give you definitely an edge. Harry, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We'll need to wrap up. I have another video conference coming up now too, and I know you have a very busy day. So thank you very much for investing the time to share your ideas with us and your experience this morning. Thank you to everyone who has joined us from various parts of the world today, and those of you who are watching this as a recording. We know we have many, many, many more people watching it as a recording than in fact tune in live. So this is the last of the series. If you've enjoyed this particular series of the Q&A, please send us an email, tell us what you like most about us, send us your questions so we can handle them when we do come back, and we'd be happy to answer any questions for you. Harry and I are also available for consultation and to answer your questions on any sales related subject or negotiating subject or sales management subject. It's what we do every day. We're specialists at doing this, and our passion and love for it comes through as well. So again, Harry, thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great day. Make it a great day. And that goes for everyone who's on this call this morning. Bye for now. Talk soon.
Thank you.